in general, motorsports off-road gets a bad name because of the handful of bad eggs that we have.
Yeah, of course.
And if we change that perspective, it makes it better for everybody. Because even the people who aren't involved in the sport are at least going to be supporting it because they recognize what's happening.
Yep.
And like, the more you do it, the better it is.
Welcome back to the Dirt Drive podcast. As always, I am Trevor. Today we have a great interview.
You haven't been listening. We are spinning the wheel of Dirt Nerds.
Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun.
Today we've got a great interview. It's Tom, because Tom's decided to get into politics, and you can go and vote for him for the hairiest of the thick boys off-road.
Wow. This is the guy with the massive beard.
I mean, it'd be a fight between you and Tim. Let's be honest. Come on now.
I don't know. I feel like you're definitely in the voting. Like, don't act like you're the naked mole rat.
Oh no, I'm hairy.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
I don't have the Italian in me.
Yeah, you don't have the Italian.
No.
Yeah, no. It was an interesting day in the state capital of old West Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
For living, like, I don't know, 10 miles from the West Virginia border.
Yeah.
The 5-hour drive to the state capital was rough.
Yeah, a little bit.
But no, it was a good time. It was the state Senate, state Congress, whatever they're considered, state level government of West Virginia.
Probably both, let's be honest.
Was hosting a Motorsport Appreciation Day. Essentially, just bringing awareness to the other people within the government that their state has the enthusiasts and the travel, and it is a great form of tourism for them.
Yeah.
Obviously, a lot of this is put on by Backroads of Appalachia, which we've you guys have been introduced to.
Are you hungry?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay.
Through the podcast and the 24 Hours Run for the Hills event we just wrapped up. Jed with Backroads is the West Virginia director, and he helped put all this on. Senator Mark Maynard is the kind of the main senator involved. He's a Jeep guy. If you follow Ultimate Adventure, you would have seen him on Ultimate Adventure this past year. Big car guy, told us some cool stories. But he basically, between him and Jed, they organized the whole thing. He hosted it, and they had all kinds of race cars just parked outside the state capitol. And then
saw a few on Facebook.
Yeah, and then inside, a couple different vendors, companies that support the motorsport industry, everything else mostly based out of Virginia. A few people from out of state. Yep. Myself, Abe Wine, another friend of the program. We made the trip out. Eric Miller, who will be hopefully soon. Yeah. Will be an episode here soon.
Stop dodging us, Eric.
Of Miller Motorsports.
Stop getting sick.
No, it's from talking to him. He told me he's very excited. He's very excited to be on the podcast. But yeah, I mean, it was cool, and it is an important thing to be involved with. For us, like, it's fun because we've got that influence, which is still kind of weird to think about. We are at the end of the day, we're the consumer for that. Yeah, we're car guys. We want the trails open. We want the 24-hour events that Backroads is doing. Yep. There's talk of maybe an Ultra 4 race. Maybe
that would be awesome.
It would be fantastic. I mean, the logistics and
there's a lot that goes into that.
There is. I mean, my biggest takeaway was the amount of people willing to put the effort into using West Virginia as the location. Yeah. Obviously we know of some parks. The whole Appalachia area is really the focus of the organization.
Yeah.
Obviously, this was mostly West Virginia, but Backroads does Kentucky, Tennessee, Ohio,
Yeah,
West
they were
Virginia.
just out in Kentucky actually meeting
Yeah,
with the
yeah.
lobbying for some stuff.
Also, the other main player in Backroads is a guy named Eric. Oh no, this is bad. I'm blanking on his name.
Oh,
Eric. Damn it! I gotta look it up now. But he's based out of Kentucky. He's like the Kentucky guy. So him and Jed. I'm just gonna bother me for the rest of the.
he wasn't the
hold
one
on.
that was at 24 Hours, was he?
No, that was Jed and Sean.
That's
Sean
right.
runs the Gambler 500 of
Yep.
West Virginia. He was there. He may or may not have talked me into getting a Gambler car at some point.
Talked you into. We've talked about doing a gambler car forever.
That's what he said. He's like, you guys got to get a Gambler car. I'm like, Sean,
we need a gambler car, a Lemons car, an Ultra 4 car.
I was like, yeah, I don't need to be convinced. I'm just waiting for the perfect $500 car to come up.
It's both a need and a want.
I'm like, I've been preaching the shitbox life for a long time. Oh, this is bad. I'm really blanking on Eric's last name. Anyway,
I kind of feel bad too because Jed emailed me the other day, and I'm pretty sure he was CC'd on it.
yeah, I think he is technically Eric's boss or Jed's boss.
You heard it here first, Eric. Jed's your boss.
Maybe he is. I don't know. Just get those vibes. Maybe they're equal. I don't know. We'll find out. All right, I'm going to give up on the last name. His name's Eric, though. Anyway, yeah, it was really really cool to like kind of just be in that room, hanging out with Abe for most of the day, spending some time with Eric, and just everybody in there has the same goal.
Yeah.
And I think the takeaway for me is this stuff's not going anywhere, right? Like,
Thankfully, yeah.
well, like
There was that fear a little bit last year as we saw some things happen.
Yeah.
We're like, oh God, is this like the decline of the golden era kind of thing?
yeah, and I think despite what's going on in the industry from a manufacturer's standpoint, I don't necessarily see that being as much of a deterrent to the true enthusiasts.
Yeah.
I think one of the rep from PRI, the Performance Racing Industry, which is subsidiary. Thank you, of SEMA. He said it was $60 billion, and that's like the motorsport side of it.
With a B?
Yeah, with a B.
Wow.
And it's, I mean, it makes sense, right? Like
It does. It's just,
like we're a small chunk of that 60 bill, but
it's just weird to hear. Like, you understand it's a $1 billion industry,
Right.
But you kind of think like, oh, we've just like crested over that, like
Exactly.
1 to 2 billion.
yeah,
You hear 60.
Yeah,
you're like,
no,
holy
$60
crap.
billion dollars. And again, like I mean, we all know how expensive the hobby is, right? Like, and it's if you can take
Not expensive at all.
just
Our
a
wife
chunk of that money and put it back into the communities that we go to, right? Like, obviously there were drag racers, there was drag boats, there was rally racers, like there's a little bit of everything there,
Anything on wheels.
and it's, I don't know, maybe I'm a little biased, but like I feel like the overlanding part of it can really contribute to like the goal of Backroads, because the goal is to get people to go into these communities that have nothing going on.
Yeah.
It may be a small general store on the counter or on the corner that sees the same 5 people every day because the town's population is 350.
Yep.
But then all of a sudden you get a train of 15 supercars driving these literally the back roads because they're fun roads to drive.
Yep.
There's no traffic on them. They're just out having a good time. They got to stop and eat.
Yep.
And
Well, you see, and then all of a sudden you think about them seeing that once a month, and you've got a train of 50,
Right.
60 people coming through once
it's
a month.
Exactly.
That's a huge change in
So
someone's life.
there's all kinds of cool events getting planned. Actually, one that I got to look and see where in West Virginia it is, because it's like I always forget how big this state is.
Yeah. I think because so little of it is actually populated
Yeah.
Like you kind of just associate it as a giant forest.
And I think a big chunk of that population does live on the border where we are.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like, I can shoot out to Martinsburg, right? Like Martinsburg is a 45-minute drive from my house, and that's it. And then you got Berkeley Springs, and you got that whole northeast corner of the state is right here. But then when you start heading south, it's another 5 hours before like the next major city.
Which is funny because Virginia is kind of the same way.
When you get far enough south,
you're just like, people forget that. We're so used to Northern Virginia that that's all people think about. And then all of a sudden you get down near North Carolina border and you're like, if you drive west for 6 hours, you're still in Virginia.
But the one event that I think I want to try and go to, they're calling it Hillfest.
Okay.
So it's like it's going to be like a Goodwood style hill climb. So it's like not like a race with like true race cars, but there's going to be race car, like it's everything, anything and everything. Basically driving up the road, expedition, just kind of typical car festival type deal. Sounds like a really, really cool event. And like, that's just right up my alley. It's the other one that I've known about for years, and I don't know why I never go, but Hyperfest is at Summit Point Raceway, which Summit Point is 30 minutes from my house. Yeah. Like it is right there. There's no reason for me to not be at Summit Point all the time, other than the fact that I just don't have a car. Because I'm not taking a Honda. I don't have a car. I don't have a car right now.
You got the VTEC sticker on there.
It's still waiting. But no, the Hyperfest is just a big party. It's the weekend we're leaving for Moab.
Ah,
yeah.
Hey, Hyperfest, can you guys like change your schedule for us? That'd be great.
But I just it was really encouraging to see like the welcoming of people from out of state to this event. Like, hey, like I think there was a couple people from North Carolina, Ohio made the trip. The power boat guys were from Ohio.
Okay.
They had some wild boats. There was a guy from Vermont.
Wow, that's a trek.
Rally.
Oh, yeah.
There was another rally group from Ohio, and then there was a drift group.
That makes sense.
Officially, it's Drift Appalachia, but I guess they're based out of like Indiana, I think he said, somewhere in the Midwest.
Interesting. Okay.
But when you look at like what West Virginia's got to offer, it's plentiful.
Well, you compare it to some of those other states that are incredibly small comparatively.
Right. Well, and like I'm not saying this stuff doesn't exist everywhere, but the one interesting fact I learned, Senator Mark Maynard he's like, it is in our state law that we are allowed to shut down public roads for racing.
Damn.
Right? So like in this roundtable meeting, you have Senator Mark Maynard, you have the director of the Department of Highway.
Okay.
The assistant to the secretary of the DOT.
Okay.
For Virginia, and the director of state parks for Virginia or West Virginia.
Nice.
Right. So you have all the people in the same room that have the power to go, go ahead and do this.
Yeah.
We're all there listening to every form of motorsport going, if you let us, we want to do this.
Yeah.
The heads of the tourism department were there going, this is awesome. Like the power boat drag racing guys, like literally right outside the Capitol was a canal.
Oh, and they were just zipping.
And they're like, listen, like he's like, I will put 1,500 people in this city. We'll have 250 boats. We will bring all the equipment necessary. You just need to give me permission to go on that water. We don't have to build anything. We don't have to do anything. He goes, maybe some help with like a boat ramp to get the boats in and out easier. Yeah. And that's it. He's like, I will have at least 1,500 people in the city watching that race. And I'm like, see, now like that's cool. And like
that's a good hand to play.
Having driven down the road parallel to that canal, I'm going, I might come down for that and just hang out in Charleston. Like, I mean, it's because it's the state capital. It's the whole like Capitol Lawn, the governor's mansion,
Yeah.
and then like on the other side of the Capitol, all these houses going up a mountain. Like, it would be a spectacular spot to just watch boats do 100, 200 mile an hour.
Yeah, of course.
And a quarter mile on water.
Yeah.
Like, it's stupid. But yeah, and then obviously like we know, and I'm sure most of our listeners that are local-ish know, like, plentiful trails. We just did 600 miles of them 2 weeks ago.
Yep. I just had someone ask me actually yesterday, and they were just like, we wouldn't be able to let you do anything on the property kind of thing because, insurance liability stuff, which makes sense. And they're like, so where would you go? Like, where do you do this stuff? And I'm just like, there's thousands of miles of trails in the national. Like, we just did a whole 600-mile loop that 580 miles of it was off-road.
Yep.
And he's like, where? It's like, Canaan Loop comes to mind. And he goes, I have never thought of that.
Yeah.
There you go. Like, there's people that know the area and still don't even think of what's out there. So it's pretty impressive.
And I think like our area, and like I'm hoping, our friends and customers and followers that are listening to this that are local to Northern Virginia, like, there's so much more within that same 2-3 hour drive that you're taking a flagpole. Like, Seneca Rocks is a 2-hour drive from Northern Virginia.
Yeah.
That is the center of the Canaan Valley area, the Canaan Loop Road, which, like, Canaan Loop, if you're not, if like, there's trails off of the loop, that was a good, I would say, challenging beginner trail.
Sure.
Like,
technical
enough, but like something you don't need a ton of recovery experience with. Like, like, you could just go out and enjoy that trip, tons of camping, and that's just literally one chunk of the area. Like,
and that's close too. Right. Like, it's not far.
Right. And it's right near Davis, West Virginia, where we spent a little bit of time before we had to get back into the race. But
burritos.
Yeah, you guys had the burritos at Hellbenders.
Oh, so good.
I mean, if you listen to the earlier podcast, you heard us talk about Hellbenders.
Freddie was so mad.
I was mad. I'm trying to figure out when, like Tim's planning, I think, that the Canyon Loop trip.
Yeah.
With people, but I'm like, I don't think I'm going to be able to go.
Yeah. And
I'm just like, I just want to go to Davis for the burrito.
Well, you heard what Freddie said. He was like, I'll just drive 2 hours out to Davis just to get I'll come for lunch. When I was driving home from Charleston yesterday, I was looking at the map going, can I get to Davis?
Can I get to Davis and still get home in time for dinner?
You wouldn't have needed dinner.
Well, that was really the problem. Was I would have hit Davis at like 5:30, and I'm like, if I eat like a 3-pound burrito, I'm like, and I already told Carrie I would pick up the Thai food on the way home, so it's like I can't get the burrito and eat Thai food at 8 o'clock. Like, that's just not. That's just
get it
bad.
And put it in the fridge. It's fine.
What, the Thai food? I'm not like I want
Thai food.
I want the burrito fresh. Like, it's I got to get the whole experience. So I don't know. We'll get out there eventually, but that's and this isn't. As much as this is focused around West Virginia, because that's the group we're involved in right now, this applies everywhere. Yeah. Right? Like, when you go out on these trails, on these roads, whatever it is, invest in that local infrastructure, invest in that economy. I think the number Eric from Backroads put out is like, if you spend money in a small community, that money multiplies by 7 times within that community. Damn. Before it eventually leaves and reaches a major city. Yeah. So, like, if you like that $20 lunch, that sandwich bag of chips and soda that you buy from that local general store,
it's paying 3 different vendors.
Right. Like, the chips come from a local business. The meat that they made the sandwich with comes from a local business. The general store is a local business. So you're supporting 3, 4, 5 different businesses just in the one purchase.
Transaction,
every time you stop to get fuel and you get a snack, like, the hotels. Like, I know Tim's back at Yoakum's this weekend. That's why it's only the two of us. Like, we enjoyed it so much, he scheduled another weekend, right? So now, like, you're pumping money into it, and when we pump money into the locals go, we want these trails because it brings people here, they spend money here. Like that is the importance of what we're doing. It's not, I think in general, motorsports off-road gets a bad name because of the handful of bad eggs that we have.
Yeah, of course.
And if we change that perspective, it makes it better for everybody, because even the people who aren't involved in the sport are at least going to be supporting it because they recognize what's happening.
Yep.
And like, the more you do it, the better it is. And that's, I would, without being too biased about it, go to West Virginia. Like, there's so much there.
Yeah.
And it's such a...
It just doesn't get talked about.
Well, it doesn't get talked about. It doesn't... I don't know why people are afraid to go out there. It's not like everything you get out of Flagpole and the GW Forest, you get twice that in West Virginia. Every view is better. I think the terrain is better. It's less crowded.
Yeah.
It was... Like, we were literally running the same route as 75 other vehicles.
Never saw anybody else.
That were all still open to the public. And the only traffic jam we came across was a guy with a broken ball joint.
Yep.
And the traffic jam was no more than 7 minutes.
Yep.
And he was back on the road before we finished eating lunch.
Yep.
Like, it was... Like, I almost don't want to go to Flagpole anymore. Like, it's like anytime we go out, like, if we're just going to do a quick overnighter, like, let's just go to Canyon.
Yeah.
Let's go to Davis. Let's get fat on burritos.
It's the same 2-hour drive. Like, it's not...
Right.
It's not anything different.
And frankly, the 2-hour drive down 81 is terrible.
Yeah. Oh, my God.
The 2-hour drive on, what was that, 522, I think we took out to Seneca Rocks. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It was absolutely stunning.
Yeah. Other than the 2-car accident that clogged up the entire road.
Yeah, well, we had a fun little detour with that.
We did.
But even like taking the highway out, like the highway route out that way goes through Cumberland, which is a beautiful drive. You're passing the Green Range State Forest. You're not far from Wolfton State Run Park. Like, there's so much that's in that northern West Virginia, southern Western Maryland. I guess it's Western Maryland. It's not Southern Maryland.
Yeah.
Someone probably yell at me for that
probably
in the comments. Actually, that was one of my favorite comments when Eric was introducing himself. He's like, yeah, from Cumberland, Maryland. He's like, pretty sure the state forgets we're there. We're basically West Virginia. And I was like, that's a really...
I would agree with that.
That's a really fair point.
Yeah.
Like, because even when you drive through it, you're going from West Virginia to Maryland back to West Virginia, and you're like, there's that little nugget of Maryland.
It's right there.
A little triangle. But yeah, I mean, it's such a neat area. Like, the interstate, the views on the interstate are phenomenal.
Oh yeah.
Like, it's like, why would you take 81 for any reason?
Well, and I think it's that benefit of, because not a ton of people travel through there.
Sure.
They haven't had to do the whole like 66 nonsense where it just keeps getting built up. I mean, it's good to hear that there's states backing this kind of stuff, because it gets the
I think that's the cool part of it,
out that are the real enthusiasts, not the assholes who give the group a bad rap and things like that. You get the people who understand we want to do this, not just for fun, but to actually help maintain these areas. Because when you bring money in, the states are more willing to put their own dollars towards it to keep it going, instead of selling it off to some private investor who's going to build hotels.
I learned about it. So I always knew the Gambler 500 events, like, they center those events around trail cleanups.
Yeah.
So they actually, when they plan that route or that event, they will go and scout and go, oh, here's an area that's like a known dumping ground.
Yeah.
So we're putting this as a waypoint. Yep. And like, part of that event is who can pick up the most trash.
Yep.
Like, they weigh how much trash they pick up. What I didn't realize is they have an app.
Oh.
And Tim, you 100% need to link this when you post this. It's called the Sons of Smokey.
Okay.
It is a live updated, peer supported app where if you're out wheeling and you see a big pile of trash, and like, maybe it's just you and the family and you can't take it all, or it's tires or mattresses or furniture or fridge.
You post it.
You tag that location on Sons of Smokey on the app, and it goes out to anybody who's got the app now sees that as an area that needs to be cleaned up.
That's awesome.
And that's what the Gambler uses to plan those routes. It's a free app.
That is awesome.
It's called Sons of Smokey. Yeah, it's like if you go off road, you need that app because if you're if you're out and you're like, hey, I don't want to run the same route to Flagpole, and you're looking for a new route,
Yeah.
throw some trash bags in the back of the Jeep, look at Sons of Smokey, and go, hey, that area needs to be cleaned up. Best case scenario, it's already been cleaned up when you get there,
and you just keep going.
Yeah, like it's like that. That's the stuff that's important. That's the stuff that needs to be done, and like having, at least in the off-road space, having the state government encouraging it.
Yeah,
like on top of, I think, helping keep some of the bad eggs away. I think you're converting people who are maybe casual or like potentially turned into the bad eggs. You're keeping them on the straight and narrow. You're practicing tread lightly. You're promoting that, and they're seeing it. They're hearing it. Going, oh, this is important. I need to focus on this. I need to do this. I want to do this. Like, this is fun. Let's help be part of the solution, not part of the problem.
Yeah, I've always found it interesting in this industry where, like, Big Brother, like corporate government, usually when they're sitting there going, clean up after yourselves, people just kind of go, meh. But when it's your peers that are looking at you going, don't be an asshole, and holding you accountable, there's 100%. It's such a different level of response from people because they just go, oh, like someone actually looked at me and told me not to do that. Like, it's not just some shadow in a tower going, I can see you.
Right. So and it's, all the agencies, all the people involved appreciate it. They appreciate seeing us enjoy it, us come out and support it, and all of the benefits benefit them. Yeah. Right. Like it, their goal is to make everything better for for their constituents, their residents, their community, and like they see that people want to be part of that, and that's a huge motivator for them, and a motivation for those communities, right? Like like that general store, if they're busy for 5-6 months out of the year, they're gonna bring stuff in. They're gonna give you a better service because you're supporting it. Obviously, it's an expensive enough hobby, and like spending money is always hard. Yep. But what, like if you're gonna spend $10 on groceries to make your lunch before you leave, take that same $10 and spend it on groceries at a general store. Like you that stuff does make a difference.
Well, yeah, it's the whole mentality of people only want to buy stuff made in America. It's you trickle that down even a little more and go buy local, support your local stores instead of when you get into town on these trips going to Giant. Go to the general store. Go to the convenience store that's in town. Like, ask someone, because, I mean, I don't know what you guys ran into, but when we were walking around Davis, everyone would talk to you. Like, you just, like, hey, how's it going? Like, what are you here for? Like, you guys local? You guys from out of town? Like,
and I mean, I'll be honest, some of the best meals I've had come from those hole-in-the-wall places.
Oh, that's a general foodie rule.
I'll even go as local as the Gore store outside the Cove. I remember one of the first times, like, I don't even remember,
because they carry everything. I don't think people realize that. The Gore store carries a lot of stuff.
They make some killer subs. Yeah, I remember. I can't remember who it was, but somebody rolled into camp one day with like a 24-inch long Italian sub.
Oh, who was that?
And I was like, where did you get that? And they were like, the Gore store. And I was like, I'm sorry, the what? And they were like,
was that Greg?
It might have been Greg. That sounds like, it might have been Greg.
Like Greg and Nick rolling in with a massive sub.
And like, I remember like getting a bite of that and was like, oh my, this is like
legit
old school Italian deli. Yeah. So like, this is bringing me back to like central New Jersey. And it's the Gore store where you're not supposed to get gas because sometimes
there may be water in it.
Sometimes it's not gas. Yeah. But their subs on point.
Well, it's like the first time we went to the Cove, I went with Woody, and he forgot all the food. Yeah. He left it sitting on his kitchen counter. Nice. And he was like, we'll go to the Gore store, we'll see what they have, kind of thing. We went in there. Yeah. We had a pot for pasta. They had pasta, onions, tomato sauce. Like, they literally had everything that your grocery store had. And we were like, guess we didn't need to bring food.
And it's so easy to like be like, oh, like because Walmart's literally 10 minutes away.
Yeah,
but like you can spend the same money at Walmart, or you can spend it at the gore store.
Yeah.
There's a place my buddy from college his family has like a hunting cabin in northern Pennsylvania, and same deal. There's a like because we used to go up there probably 2-3 times a year, and driving up, you'd make a right onto the road that would take you to the cabin, and I had always just turned right.
Yeah,
I just kind of always assumed we were in the middle of nowhere. One year I missed the turn. Drive literally another 3 minutes. Here's a local general store. It was closed when I turned around.
Yeah.
But I turn around, end up going back down the road, get to the cabin, and I'm like, Eric, did you know there's a store right up the road? He goes, yeah. You should have their breakfast sandwiches. I was like, we've been coming here for like 5 years now.
You never said anything.
You've never even mentioned it. He goes,
asshole.
yeah. I'm like, so we're going out there to get sandwiches in the morning? He's like, okay. Like one of the best bacon, egg, and cheeses on a biscuit I've ever had.
I will say it's the one thing that irks me about locals sometimes, and I know we do it too.
They forget.
Is you don't think about it.
Yeah, because he's been going up there since he's a kid.
Yeah, so he's just like, general store, whatever.
Yeah.
It's nothing. It's not that it's nothing special, but it's so normal that it just.
Yeah, and like I mean, we've traveled enough at this point. Like my goal when I go somewhere is. Even it may not always be a local place. Like when we were in Vegas, like my rule when I travel to a new city is I don't eat anywhere that I can eat at home.
Yep.
So like that helps avoid the chain restaurants or the whatever it is. I mean, there's always exceptions to it, but like that's always one of my personal goals is to try and spread it out.
We went to Del Taco.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like. It's almost easier to do that on an overlanding trip or a day on the trails.
Because sometimes you just stumble across stuff. Yeah. Like you're not even trying for it. You just go, we're kind of hungry. Yeah, we'll keep driving for a little bit. Oh, look at that. There it is.
Yeah. So, like, I mean, obviously, the overlanding and the off-road events for us are...
The big draw.
The big draw, because that's what we do. But it's just like...
It's good that they're encompassing all motorsports. It's nice.
Well, yeah, and I think that, to me, that's the really exciting part, right? Because, like, you don't need an event to go run these trails.
No, you could just drive yourself.
But the fact that they're trying to bring in all this other organized, sanctioned type event stuff really changes the face of what it is. Because, like one of the big ones that Abe and I talked about a lot, like with Trail Hero, right? Like Trail Hero is an awesome event. It's 50, 60,000 people.
Yeah.
And that, similar to like King of the Hammers, is on public land.
Yep.
Like it is BLM land they're essentially renting for the weekend.
Yep.
And we don't, like in Virginia, especially Northern Virginia, that public land doesn't really exist.
No.
And the Shenandoah National Park, National Park, the Virginia state parks that we have, like, there's really not a shortage of visitors to them because of what the state is and what we have. Like that environment exists.
Yeah.
West Virginia doesn't have that same draw. People don't get past Shenandoah.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I'm going to go out. I want to go to a national park. I want to go hiking, camping. Yeah, we'll go Skyline Drive.
Because then they go, I've been on this side. Why do I need to go to the other side?
But
because the other side's completely different.
But everything that Shenandoah and GW have, again, is in West Virginia. And I to me, that's like, think about how cool it would be for like a full-blown rally race down Skyline Drive.
Yeah.
Never going to happen because to shut down Skyline Drive, there's a ton of lost revenue to the national park. But that same kind of road
exists on the other side,
an hour west, and it doesn't have nearly the traffic. So how are we going to bring the traffic? Oh, we're going to show you how freaking cool this stuff is.
And I think it's nice too because, like, with the sanctioned events, I think that does end up helping a lot of the more casual people.
Oh,
because
100%.
Those are the people that sometimes are afraid to go out on those roads by themselves, which is understandable. Like, you don't want to get lost. You know, that's part of it. But when you talk about an event where someone's going to be guiding you and you have someone to follow, it's a lot more enjoyable because now for the people that don't want to have to just solely focus on navigating, they can actually take the time to enjoy what's around them because somebody else is doing the navigating for them. All they have to do is just stay right behind it.
Well, yeah, essentially takes the guesswork out of it, which I think
for some people is the fun, but for other people they want to be involved.
Exactly. I was just going to say I think especially in the off-road world, there is a large group of people who just want to go have fun.
Yeah.
And
they don't want to have to think.
Do the wild things where like we're kind of I think we're more the exception of I want to get lost.
Yeah.
Like I want to push my skills as far as I can go, whether it's mapping, navigating, driving, recovery, survival, whatever. Like for us, like that adrenaline rush, that adventure, that's our draw to the activity. But not everybody has that. And I think it is definitely something that is lacking. You know, and we get the question in the shop all the time. I'm like, where can I go? And like
1,000 different places.
Well, and that's where like just go, go drive.
Yeah.
And like I think that's very intimidating for a lot of people.
100%.
So like Backroads, one thing that Backroads is doing that's great is all the 24-hour events, all the off-road events they're doing, they're sharing that GPX file.
Yep.
So like if you guys want to go run that same 585-mile route that Tim and I did and you guys did chunks of, like you can ask us for it because I have the GPX file as well, but so does the website.
Yeah.
If you, backroadsappalachia.com or .gov.org.
.org? Sorry, Jed.
It'll be linked in the comments below. Backroads Appalachia. Just Google. And like their website already has road routes. Like if you're a adventure bike, Harley guy, sport bike guy, sport car, whatever it is, there are all these routes exist, and they've got the local businesses and whatnot marked.
Yeah,
like you know, you can
all your gas stops, all that.
Like if you don't want to rugged camp it, you don't have a rooftop tent, you need heat and a bed. Like, cool. There's campgrounds all over the place. You can get your like Tim's in a nice luxury 2-bedroom. I almost said an apartment.
Yeah, okay.
But it's got
it's
heat.
A condo in the woods.
Yeah, it is. It's a condo in the woods. It's got heat, air conditioning. Like we were in the same campground with a wood stove that nobody woke up and put more wood on, so we all almost froze to death.
Fine.
But Tim's in there with a full mini split and a TV, which is where Freddie was. Yeah. So it's like
lazy bum.
You can literally get any part of it that you want, and you can make the adventure as soft or as hard as you want it.
You think we could jokingly get Jed to get a GPX file for the boat route up the canal? Like, hey, you want to come run your sport boat? Here's your route. Quarter mile. You've done it. Yay!
Yeah. I mean, and like I said, I think, like, obviously Backroads is doing some cool events. They're doing great events. But
they're also not the only ones, too.
Well, they're bringing in full event companies, and they're helping them achieve the event by making the connections.
Yep.
They're the go-between with the government to get the permits and the road closures and whatever else are needed. And it's just cool because it is a total buy-in from the necessary departments.
Yeah, and we definitely saw a little bit of that with 24 hours too, because obviously you've got Department of Agriculture involved, you know, National Forest.
They had their
involved.
whole emergency management trailer set up just to help monitor comms for the event.
Yeah, and they used it as a training event for themselves, so it's just a nice win-win. But, you know, I say it's not just them. This is, you know, we've got listeners all over the place. Check out who your local groups are. Like, that's the most important part. Go support those groups who are, like, those are a few of the groups that I would legitimately say support those guys who are lobbying for good stuff.
Yeah.
Like, people hear lobbyists and it's got such a negative connotation, but when it comes to this kind of stuff, when it's supporting your local towns, your local people that you may live down the road from, like, that's the important stuff. And if we get to do some fun stuff along the way with it, all the better. Like, this is what's going to help bring everybody together, honestly.
Well, and you know, I mean, it's I shouldn't say thankfully. The East Coast as a whole, I think, gets very much overlooked for this stuff.
Yes, 100%.
It's actually funny. I think it was yesterday or last night. the revised Ultra 4 schedule came out.
Okay.
And like the East Coast is getting shafted. Shocking, right?
We always do.
So like the Pennsylvania race isn't on the schedule now. So they canceled some West Coast stuff too. So there's going to be one in Kentucky and one in Indiana are the 2 East Coast races. And reading through the comment section, because I didn't recognize either. Well, I looked it up. They're both exactly 9.5 hours from us. Because I was like, Kentucky's probably closer than Indiana. Oof.
Depends on what part.
Bowling Green. Yeah. So I was like, all right, like maybe we'll go to one of those. And then I'm looking at like Crandon's still on the list, and like Crandon's definitely a bigger event.
Yeah.
And that's 13 hours. So I'm like, all right, like if we're going to do a 10 plus hour drive, like we're probably going to Crandon. But beside the point, one of the East Coast races is just a short course race. And it's like,
look, I get that you West Coast guys don't know how to come out here and drive out here. But get over it.
But
and make more races on the East Coast.
The thing that sucks about it is, and
fight me.
The problem is I've had so many conversations with Abe about this. I don't remember like what's been talked about or not. But like I know I'm pretty sure it's been on the podcast. The problem on the East Coast is it's not all, but it's mostly private land.
Correct.
So the places to do this
are far and few between.
Are privately owned, and everybody who wants paid.
And not a little.
Right.
They want a lot of it.
So like the reason Trail Hero is as successful as it is because he's buying a set price permit from the Park Service.
Yep.
Right? I'm pretty sure Sand Hall is like a national park.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it.
Yeah.
Where if it was a private park, if Sand Hollow was privately owned, it'd be a percentage.
Yeah.
Which kills your profit, which means you have to charge more for tickets or whatever. Like it just becomes more difficult to put the event on. And like unfortunately everything is a business, and that's just capitalism and a side effect of it. And that's fine. Like this isn't saying don't go to your local park, don't support your park, but it is one of the challenges we face. So then when you look at what West Virginia is doing, we have public land and we're willing to let you use it. Yeah. All of a sudden these things start to become possible because West Virginia, that land's public and exists whether there's a race on it or not.
Yeah.
So why not sell that permit and support the local economy in the process? I mean, there's obviously other challenges to it, but they're like that's the gist of it. And when you look at like Ultra 4, where like that spectator draw is not huge, it's hard for them to go to a
it's
park.
Hard to justify the cost.
Right, because the park wants to get paid.
Yeah.
They're going, well, we got to shut down, so we're losing revenue, so you got to cover that.
Yep.
They want to make more money. The state park isn't going to lose revenue if you use it for a weekend.
No.
And
if anything, they're probably making more than they normally do.
So I'm optimistic. I mean, with Eric Miller involved, with Chaos Motorsports involved, like you've got two names that are in the industry on the East Coast. There's not a lot of guys running these races on the East Coast. Yeah. And like it's growing. It is growing on the East Coast, whether the West Coast wants to admit it or not.
West Coast could suck it.
But that's the thing. I think Eric said it best. He goes, I remember the first time I won at Hammers, and it was like, this year's king, Eric Miller from Cumberland, Maryland, and people were like, where's Maryland?
Well, see, I always laugh at that because like people will know Eric Miller's name, and they automatically assume he's either from the middle of the country or the West Coast. Like, it's like, dude, he's like 2 hours from here. Like,
we were, ironically enough, he was questioning this or not, and I think there were a couple different people that told him that he is like the winningest driver still. Like as far as
the car, or the like him personally.
I'm pretty sure both.
Oh, shout out to Eric Miller.
Like as
you
far
heard it
as,
here first. You're the winningest driver. Our word is the only one that matters.
But it's because like with Hammers, it's not just
Because I know his cars.
But like, he had like, I think he said it was like, he's like, I'm pretty sure I had like 14 finishes in a row, which is like more than anybody's ever finished it. Like
that. Yeah, that alone.
Like it was. He said it was like 2 or 3 years ago. It was like his first DNF because the car blew up, and he was like, he was more bummed about DNFing than he was where he placed.
Eric, you didn't walk to the finish line. I'm disappointed.
He made the comment because somebody was like, 2? I thought you won 3 times. He's like, I don't know. And we were like, I've won so many times.
Oh my god.
He's like, no, really. I don't even pay attention anymore. We're like,
oh god. I bow before my lord.
Yeah. No, it was. It's just
because I know his cars have won.
Yeah,
a ton.
Well, yeah, because it's a really well built chassis. I mean, like you look at, especially the last few years, there's so much advancement, like technology advancement, and then here comes Miller Motorsports and the same chassis they've been using for 15 years with solid front and rear axles.
It's almost like if it ain't broke, you ain't gonna fix it.
And he's still, I believe, I'm pretty sure he finished 5th this year.
So he did. He did very.
So
well.
It's like you have these Broncos that are like basically spaceships.
Yeah.
And here's Eric Miller with a V8 and solid axles, top 5.
Down home boy.
Yeah.
Get it.
Yeah. And it's like I got to be up close on the car yesterday, and it was like, it's just such a simple machine.
Yeah.
For not being simple, it's such a simple machine.
Yeah.
And it just smells so good.
I was, you know, it's funny. I was literally about to ask you, how did it smell? Because you made that post of like, God, I love the smell of racing. Like,
so
it's
good. So good. But yeah, I mean, there's people involved that want to be involved, that want to bring it over here. I think in the off-road space, again, our pretty biased opinion.
Yeah.
But the off-road space, it has the most room to grow.
Absolutely.
Because it can be done publicly. I think the same with
there's
drifting.
so much diversity in it too. Like, it's not just
right. It's
Jeeps.
Overlanding, it's Ultra 4, it's rock crawling, and
you're appealing to a lot of communities, UTVs.
Shit, like, there was an overland experience at King of the Hammers.
Yeah.
This is like the gnarliest rock crawling competition in the world, and there's an overland experience.
Go drive through some sand.
Yeah.
But it's I think the nice part about it is now we're seeing, because the appeal is growing so much, you're seeing the people who were never involved in any kind of motorsport, like the hikers and the campers and everything, go, ooh, I can get to more places if I have one of these vehicles.
Right. Like all of a sudden it becomes easier to go do that hike because you have a base camp.
Yeah,
right?
like instead of driving your Honda Civic somewhere just on the road, now you can actually get up into the mountain and get to those hiking spots you've never been to.
And I think that's the response. That's the growth we've seen in the off-road market as a whole, not just locally. And that's obviously all part of the benefit. Like it's not just a race car situation. It's an everybody thing. And like the spectator consumer part of it, that also like that's all part of this economic growth that revolves around it. And I think I'd be interested to see, I honestly don't even know where you could source the numbers for it, but I would be very interested, and I would love to know, like, what the ratio of enthusiast to spectator is. Like, like in the motorsport world, if you're an enthusiast, like if you like cars and race cars, you're pretty much a spectator.
Yeah.
Where like I'm a sports fan, right? Like I like baseball and football and hockey and golf. I couldn't tell you the last time I attended a professional sporting event. Yeah. Like I have not purchased tickets to go to a Nationals game in DC in probably 5 or 6 years. Nope. Same with the hockey. Like I know it's pre-COVID and it was years before that.
Yeah.
So it's like, I sit and watch TV and watch it on TV and I support it in that way. But like I am much more likely, if you told me
physically go,
because half the time spectating doesn't cost you anything. You have to buy a ticket.
Yeah.
So like if I were to see a thing on Facebook that said there was a forest rally through West Virginia for the weekend, free camping, check out this vendor tent, whatever it is, I am much more likely to go, hell yeah, that sounds like a cool weekend. right? Like, and like, I think that's the other appeal, at least for me, in motorsport in general, is like, it's more festival based than it is event based.
Yeah.
Like you're not just getting 3 hours of entertainment; you're getting 3 days of entertainment. Because you're gonna go, you're gonna watch qualifying, you're gonna follow it, you're gonna watch, do whatever you need to do online. Like,
it's the same argument we used to make for NASCAR races.
Yeah.
It's always more fun to go to the NASCAR race because there's so much going on.
Yeah.
It's not like you can step away from watching the cars turn left for 5 hours.
Exactly. Well, and on top of that, that's just the race. You still have practice and qualifying. You have everything going on all day. Like, there's so much to do within motorsport that, like, there's just it's such an untapped industry when you look at it from a mainstream market.
Oh yeah.
And that's that is the goal of Backroads. That is the goal of Senator Mark Maynard. Like, they wanted that hallway because the Senate was in session yesterday. I don't know like what part. It's West Virginia, so I don't follow politically. But
you mean you don't follow other localities, local governments?
No.
Oh, okay.
I barely follow our own. Don't get me. This is not a political podcast, so I'm not gonna get into some of my saltiness that I was venting to Carrie about yesterday when I got home from this, because I was going, man, it's so cool that they're doing this, and then I'm like,
they're doing it here.
Yeah, and I can't get our representatives to agree to.
Nope, don't do it.
Not gonna do it.
Don't do it.
I apologize for the 30
Sorry,
seconds.
we had technical difficulties there.
Go out and vote.
We had some technicalities there.
Technicality. That's an inside joke.
Yes, it is.
It's an AB joke, see your way out of it. But yeah, it was a cool experience. It was cool people. On a side note, one thing I kind of giggled about, because it's a pretty big crowd in a relatively small conference room, and everybody's.
And you and Abe are not small, so
no, it was hot. Abe and I were sweating. I thought Abe was going to pass out at one point. But no, it's the going around the table and when like talking about Eric, like Jed like made a comment. He's like, yeah, Eric's a 2-time King of the Hammers champ, which I thought it was 3, but it might be 2. I meant to look it up before we were recording.
Yeah, we'll call it 4.
Anyway, Jed said it was 2. I know it's not more than 3. Yeah. I know that. It's 2 or 3.
Oh, he doesn't know. He doesn't care.
Yeah, Eric couldn't remember.
15-time winner Eric Miller.
Yeah. But, like, so, like, that gets mentioned, and then I remember standing, there were some drag racers next to me, and, like there was more Ultra 4 discussions, and, like, somebody was like, yeah, like, there was 176 racers across all classes this year, and 80% of them didn't finish the race.
Yeah.
And like the drag race couple that was next to me was like, that sounds gnarly. And then somebody like from like next to them goes, and that guy won that twice? Yeah. And I was like
and he finished 15 times.
I was like, you don't even realize like
the presence that you're sitting in.
And like the not finishing it thing still I don't think does it justice.
No.
Because like, and I do think that's one of the things, there's probably more of a conversation for another episode, but like some of the growth, like there's been so much growth within Ultra 4 and Hammers, but it's a lot of enthusiast growth, right?
Yeah.
So like I can sit and I can relate to this because the famous Reading race last year was the weekend my son was born.
Yep.
So I was sitting in the hospital room.
Damn it, Tommy.
Streaming it on my iPad.
Yeah.
My wife, who is in labor, is like, or I guess actually it would have been right after he was born, because he was born that Thursday afternoon. So we were in recovery. Wife still hopped up on drugs, and I'm like glued to my iPad for like 3 hours.
Yeah.
And it's like, the video is like there's nothing going on. It's not like F1 or NASCAR where it's
just constantly swapping back and forth, and
it's like, oh, you saw a car go over a rock, cool.
Yeah.
And then they cut to somebody else going over a different rock. Oh, cool. But like we understand the challenges. We get it. We've been out. We've done similar trails. We kind of get the terrain, and we understand the process involved in it. And it's a 4-5 hour race that you're streaming, you're watching, and the coverage is pretty limited.
Yep.
So like there's a lot of talk of like how do you mainstream Ultra 4?
Yeah.
Right? Because it's a 200-mile course.
Yeah.
You know, we saw it this year where they had Starlink on some of the cars to get live in-car footage.
Yeah.
And it worked sometimes it didn't. The problem was
you're in the middle of the desert.
Starlink at 150 miles an hour doesn't do so well. and it's like how do you fix that, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of math problems involved with it.
Yeah.
But it's I think the start to, like, if you can get people there and in front of the cars,
yep,
you can your online presence becomes better because now they've experienced it, now they see it, they get what they're watching on TV.
Yep.
You know, we stream Hammers Week at the shop start to finish. Every class, practice, or qualifying, you know, all the if it's on the YouTube live stream, it's on when we're here at the shop that week. And you know, it's again, like we can follow it. It's great background noise.
Oh yeah.
Like I hate to call it background noise, but it's great because you can look up and go, ooh, that guy stuck. That guy flipped over. Let's watch the recovery. Like there's chunks of it. You know, it's like I'm not a hardcore NASCAR fan, but my favorite thing in NASCAR is the wrecks. Right? You get 5 minutes.
That's like 90% of people.
Yeah. So it's kind of the same deal.
Yep.
But I think everything, West Virginia included, all of this interest and everything is growing, and it's growing rapidly, and there's lots of cool things happening. It's cool that it's happening basically in our backyard.
Yeah.
It's cool that we can be,
because we always hear about this stuff happening on the West Coast,
right?
Like they do these events all the time, and now
Mint 400 shuts down North Las Vegas, and they park all the cars on it for a festival the day before.
And we sit there and we just go, damn it,
and
why do we live on the East Coast?
And that's just like, oh, it's another day in Vegas. Oh yeah, the Mint 400's in town. And like here, we could probably poll our customers all of next week and be like, you ever heard of the Mint 400? And they'd be like, no.
Don't care.
Because it's not obtainable.
Yeah.
There's no relation to 400 mile long race in the middle of a desert. We don't have a middle of a desert.
Yeah, I would love for once a month to hear like, oh, this part of the Monongahela National Forest is getting shut down for this event.
Yeah.
Like, I can't wait for the day we're just getting notification once a week. Hey, here's the next one. Here's the next one. Here's the next one.
And the interesting argument is you got to get the people to come from the West Coast, right?
Yeah.
Like if you're an East Coast racer, you just want to go racing, so you take the time and the money to go to Nevada and Arizona and California and go do these races. But you got to get the guys who have a 45-minute commute to the racetrack
to come
across the country.
Yep. Jed did it. Jed did it. 24 hours. There was almost every state was represented there.
I don't know if it was actually every state, but
I said almost.
Oh yeah.
They had quite a few guys.
Sure, but that's my point. Like you have to do unique events. You got to do good events, and on the professional level, those guys have sponsors that they have to essentially appease.
Yep.
So at the end of the day, if you're not putting the eyeballs and the butts in the seats and the eyeballs on the cars,
it's
those
not worth
guys,
their time.
They're not going to come out here because now they're spending their own money because the sponsors aren't going to pay them to be out here. So, it's important for us to support it because if we support it, it's the old, if you build it, they will come.
Yeah.
Field of Dreams.
Yeah.
Like, just if you build it, they will come.
Yep.
Do the race. Somebody's going to come here if people are watching. And again, it's more than a half hour of entertainment.
Yeah.
Go make it a trip. Go run 15 trails, get the 3-pound burrito at Hellbenders, and you still get to watch the rally race.
Yep.
So, it's
a 1-day race is a 3-day event.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really what it breaks down to. And for a 3-day event, the guys who are participating have been there for 7 days.
Yep.
Like it compounds exponentially for how much it affects. That 1 day of running rigs is a week's worth of revenue. For
I was pretty blown away to hear that like 7 times multiplication number. Like,
it's wild.
For every $100 you spend, there's $7,000 ending up in that community. Like,
well, and I mean, think about it from the shop perspective, right? Someone comes in and buys one lift kit and tires and wheels, and we're paying for that from 4 different vendors.
Right.
And it's just
you buy the lift kit from us, and it takes care of my paycheck, your paycheck, 2 other paychecks, which then pays the rent. So you're supporting my landlord in a weird way. Like and like, you know, it's that effect. Like that effect goes even further in these small communities. Like, you know, you're not supporting my landlord, you're supporting
somebody's home.
Literally, like a lot of these people live and work in the same place. Like that's how they can support their business. Like it's definitely a completely different economic situation. And your pizza goes a long way. You know,
it's wild to think, because people always feel like each individual always has that moment of I can't make a difference. I'm one person. I'm a drop in an ocean of drops. It's like, but there's a lot of drops out there.
I mean, like just in Tim's Jeep alone, we spent, I think it was like $85 in fuel for that trip. That's one vehicle, frankly, probably one of the more fuel efficient vehicles on the trip.
We stopped like 4 times for gas in Peter's truck.
Right. Right. Every single one of those gas stations is locally owned. And times 78 or 83, whatever, however many vehicles it was running. Like, it's...
Not to mention support vehicles and all, like, everything.
Basically, $10,000 worth of fuel was purchased in a 36 hour period.
It's wild.
And I think the thing for me that's really cool about that event specifically is it was literally the whole state. We covered the whole state. You know, it wasn't like it was centered around one community. We spread it across the whole state.
We hit numerous towns. Numerous.
So, the events they're doing, everything's just going really well. I think I'd like to see some of it trickle into Virginia.
I think it will. Because
it will, but it will in the overflow sense of it. But I mean directly. I would like to see, and the part that's so hard is like where we live and where we work aren't the areas that need it and aren't the areas affected by it. So I don't quite know where to get involved. If you're listening and you're in one of those communities and you live by those trails, like, and you want help, let us know. Like,
we'll get you in touch with those people. Like, because they work in Virginia. Like, Backroads of Appalachia is all over.
Officially, Jed doesn't have pole. He's restricted to West Virginia. But
his organization that he's with.
But I can guarantee you, if somebody,
if you want it enough,
wants it and wants to help on the Virginia side of the border,
they will gladly take the help.
I'm sure they will. They at least know where to start. Where I don't have an idea where to start. I would love to. I would absolutely love to. And maybe in the next few months we'll be in a situation where we could. Because I think it is a forgotten thing.
Well, and it's wild because even just after 24 hours, you mentioned us being part of that. I've had other businesses reach out to us because they saw the coverage from that and go, "Hey, we would love to bring an event like that to us. Like, how do we do that? Like where do we start?" And it's like, "Oh, talk to these people, talk to these people." And it's weird being that go-between of like, we're the ones getting asked that question, and it's like, all we did was go have a fun weekend.
We were just participating.
We were just shooting the shit with people and having a good time, and now we've got businesses going, like, we want to be involved in that because obviously from a business standpoint it helps them. It generates their revenue, but they see that and they go, here it is. Like, this is it, and you guys are a part of that, and we want to be a part of it too, and that's awesome. So get out, support the local economy, support motorsport, support the people that support us. The usual, DirtNerdsOffroad.com. And the famous words of Ted Lasso, live!
Get out there! So good. But yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm just broken record of.
I mean, I think really, at this point, it just comes down to
but
enjoy what's there. We have it. It's here. It's close by. Don't forget about it. Because it is there, and people want it to be used. The more we use it, the better it gets taken care of. And that's how you support it, is by going out and actually using what's available to us and showing people that we're interested in it.
And tell people that you meet along the way. Like, hey, I just had a killer sandwich over at that place. Mark it in your Gaia, mark it on your Onyx, like make it part of your monthly trip or whatever it is. Like just do it.
And when you're out there, like we always say, don't be a dick.
Yeah. Sons of Smokey.
Yeah.
The Sons of Smokey app. It'll be linked. Tim, link it.
Yep. But yeah, if you guys have any other questions, obviously sound off in the comments.
Yeah.
Let us know. If you have any interest in getting involved, please let us know.
Yeah.
We will get you in touch with the right people.
Join our group.
Yep.
Dirt Nerds, the Dirt Nerds Off-Road Forum on Facebook.
Yeah, we will get you in touch with those people. We will let you know about the events, because there's a ton of them coming. Just after 24 hours, they've got like 7 or 8 events already planned.
I was going to say the next 24-hour event is announced. It's the end of July. That one will be a little bit easier logistically. It's a loop.
Yep. But he's also got the other ones. He's got the hide and seek one.
Yep. The Sasquatch hunting one.
That sounds like
that one. I think I may try and go to.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
But
there's a lot out there for everyone who is always asking, where do I go? What do I do? There's tons of information. So make sure you check it out. Tim will link everything below. Link to the pages. As always, check us out. DirtNerdsOffroad.com. All the socials. Dirt Nerds Off-Road, Dirt Nerds Motors. We will post as much as we can about these events, and we look forward to seeing you guys out there.
Yep. DirtNerdsOffroad.com.
DirtNerdsOffroad.com.
Support those that support us, that support you,
that
supporting
support
us.
We. Wombo?
The supporting you,
reaching out. We can't do another sing along.
To touching you. Bum, bum.